how to maximize your results with as little time as possible. Good news. There's actually a ton of evidence to support that with the right kind of structuring, you can get pretty much all the benefits of a longer workout in a much more condensed. No amount of time spent working out or intensity matters if you can't stick with it. Consistency is the number one thing. Welcome to episode 65 of In the Grand Scheme of Fitness. I'm your host, Justin Schollard.
And I'm your co-host, Ethan Wolf.
And today, folks, we're going to be talking about how to maximize your results with as little time as possible. This is kind of it's a little bit like the last ones we were talking about with food and programming. And now we're just going to talk about just efficiencies. Like not everyone has a luxury of going to the gym for an hour, because let's be honest, it's an hour workout, but then you got to get there, unload your stuff, do a little warm up, change, work out for the hour, and then pack it up and go home. I mean, that could be like over 2 hours of your life. And like when you're 25, you're like, yeah, why doesn't everyone just do this? And then like you're 40 and you're like, that's just not going to happen. I just can't do that. Good news. It doesn't have to be that way. There's actually a ton of evidence to support that with the right kind of structuring, you can get pretty much all the benefits of a longer workout in a much more condensed version. We're talking about weight training, different goals you might have, whether that be like putting on muscle or just being fit and healthy or losing fat, or, even down to like walking. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, folks.
Life hacks.
Yeah.
Exercise.
Yeah, totally. Because let's be honest, like it's just, I don't know, I'm a fitness person, but if I can get the same results in 30 minutes that it would normally take me 45 or 60, like I'll do the 30. That sounds perfect, right?
Absolutely.
No amount of time spent working out or intensity matters if you can't stick with it. Consistency is the number one thing.
And I think time is probably one of the biggest reasons that people would name for not being able to incorporate more fitness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't got the time for it.
I'll tell you, I love a good superset.
Yeah.
Right now, the way I train is it's like mainly like a push-pull day together, and then a legs and arm day, and then a push-pull day, and then a legs and arm day. So it's 4 workouts a week.
Solid.
And I've just recently stumbled on this, and it's like the perfect split for me.
Right.
Because I can just superset chest and back, bench press, and pull-ups.
Right.
Perfect. Just do bench press, rest for 30, 40 seconds, do pull-ups, rest 30, 40 seconds, and just do that for 3 or 4 rounds. Pick another couplet of exercises like that.
I'll do it again.
Yeah, and within 30 minutes, I've gotten 8 to 10 sets per muscle group down.
No, it's pretty good volume.
It feels great.
Yeah.
There's a little aerobic benefit to that as well.
So yeah, just because you're moving so consistently.
Yeah, totally. And so I think that's the idea, is like kind of breaking the mold. Even if you want to put on muscle, totally cool. You can do that and still do what I just did and like have little supersets and drop sets and stuff. It doesn't have to be this like classic way of like do a set, now rest.
Right. Yeah.
For 3 minutes and then do another set and then rest. It's like you can train that way. That's fine, but it comes at the cost of just your time.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, it might be the most optimal way to perform for a single deadlift or something, but
yeah, there's certain high-risk exercises where maybe that makes sense.
Yeah, but I think for the most part, it's time and efficiency is just going to be the bait or the ability. It's going to be the grease on the wheels to get people to be consistent, like you said. And I think it goes to say that it all comes down to like some structure and intent, and also just really, I think these things take so long and becoming part of a lifestyle. I think it's almost like for me getting rid of the mountain of the molehill and just finding a way to just like squeak it into your lifestyle and just look the other way and just let time go by, with consistency being the situation, you know? And so it's like, I think it's like having a program is probably going to be one of the biggest ones, is like just knowing what you're going to do, knowing what's ahead. And then that to what you were kind of just saying, that your program has a lot of malleability. And so whether you're just working out in your living room at home, or you're going to a Planet Fitness, or you're working at a home gym, even someone who's had the same home gym set up for a long time and who's been exercising for a long time, even now there's like, there's the slight tweaks to how I do my exercise.
For sure.
Makes all this time efficiency happen, makes it more digestible.
It's constantly, you ebb and you flow. You're constantly just like moving through different things that either catch your attention or your interest at certain points, or just practically make sense at that stage of your life. Like maybe ideally you would like to, 3 or 4 1-hour workouts, but maybe it just makes most sense right now in your life to break that up into like 5 or 6 20-minute workouts every morning.
Right.
And I think that's why like programs like P90X and Beachbody get so popular. In the beginning, maybe CrossFit was like that too, because it was like, we can just like maximize your output and efficiency in this like really short window of time.
Yeah.
Of course, trade-off of that is it's explosive. There's skill that's required, and then what ends up happening is like the universal law where things tend to expand to fill in their container, so to speak. And so even though like a CrossFit WOD, for example, is only 15 minutes, but you're there for an hour, and so you end up working out for an hour because then all of a sudden, oh well, we can throw in some strength afterwards, and then after that, after the WOD, we can then do some abs and some mobility. See, and it ends up being an hour. So it's like when you go to these classes or you do these kind of like P90X type programs that sell you on this quicker thing, it can work, but I'm just a big believer in building the skill set, understanding movements so that you can have that autonomy to build your own programming around, so you're not just beholden on a video series of workouts or a class schedule, because then it's like, well, what if I've run out of these workouts and I get sick of them? Or what if the gym closes down and I can't go anymore? It's like having the autonomy to like build your own domain out with exercise, and then understanding how it goes is just going to really just set you up in the long run to like be nimble and consistent ultimately.
For sure.
So another great hack that we were talking about getting ready for the show is like rest periods. I think the benefit of going to like a class is that your rest is typically timed.
Yep. The structure's there.
The structure is there, even if that class ends up being the hour, which we just don't have time to allocate towards anyways. But but I think that like the lesson is, if you're working out at home, which a lot of folks are these days, especially, I think the pandemic just really, revolutionized home workouts.
Absolutely.
But one of the traps is lingering between sets. And so if the goal is maximum efficiency and results for the least amount of time, then it stands to reason we better start timing those rests.
Yeah. And it's, and so like, there's obviously like a gradient to the rest. The heavier and the more recovery, the longer the rest. So if you want strength endurance, maybe you do 30 seconds to a minute. If you want like hypertrophy, it's like 90 seconds to 2 minutes. And then if it's like really heavy strength training, you could say like 2 to 5 minutes, depending. But ultimately, even at like a 2 or 3 minute rest, I think people would be surprised at how quickly that goes by. And whether you're alone or you have a training partner, just how easy it is to let 3 to 5 minutes happen between a set, just even keeping a good pace. And so it's like, let me tell you, if you actually put 90 seconds on the clock,
it ain't long.
It is really not long. And so even if you're just doing a singular exercise, like even if you're just doing bench press and honoring a 90-second rest period, it's going to go by pretty quick. And then if you're doing another exercise in there, you're going to be hustling. Like, so if you do a bench press and then you want to do some like quote active rest, and you do some type of abdominal exercise while your chest is resting, but your chest truly only gets 90 seconds, you could really only get 45 seconds of downtime where you're doing nothing, which really isn't that long.
No.
And so all of a sudden there's no time to like check your texts. You're really kind of on the focus. And I think that it applies whether you actually go to the gym or a home gym, because if you have a workout that takes you an hour normally and you have to change and shower and do everything, and that leads to the gym experience being an hour and a half, whereas if you could solidify the workout time to 40 minutes and then have 20 minutes to shower and get out of there, and now your whole gym experience is an hour, and it means it's more, you're able to get to the actual gym, or whether it's a home gym. But I think like the timed rest is a very humbling experience.
Totally.
Because I also find that like, I know for me that because the rest is shorter, my recovery is like my being more challenged, and or the fatigue in my muscle is much more present. Like I tend to go into that second, third, fourth set in a state of fatigue where I'm like, I will not perform as well. Like I'm self-aware versus I think back to when I don't time my rest, and I tend to hit my sets feeling pretty good, in a sense.
And I think like there's a couple things come to mind just from like a strategy standpoint. So like number one is like, even though studies do show that like shorter rest periods do tend to result in more hypertrophy. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's time under tension.
Yeah. And demand on the muscle too.
So if like I'm giving my muscle 3 minutes, I'm kind of catching the downside of that bell curve. Yeah. But if I give it like 90 seconds, it's like I'm like peak
in the recovery process.
Just cresting it, just opening the door to recovery, and I'm going again, and I'm doing it again.
Yeah, so just the systemic demand,
just the overload of the muscle. Yeah, and so that makes sense then that like your reps per set would decline at that pace. So then a strategy, if like preserving strength is important, then strategy in that scenario where you do time your rest for time efficiency, yet you still want to maintain strength and not just like barely eke out 3 reps in your last set, is reverse pyramiding. So your heaviest, after you do your warm-ups, you start your first set with the heaviest weight. Right. Then you precipitously drop the weight down with each successive set. So if you're doing, let's just say 4 sets for a certain exercise,
Right.
keep it simple. Let's say like back squats and your max rep, or the way you're going to start this set is for this rep range. Let's say it's 150 pounds. So you start after your first set 150 pounds, and then second set maybe 135, and the third set maybe 115, and the fourth set maybe like 95. So you can try to maintain higher reps as you get more fatigued because your rest time is shorter. And so that's a good strategy in that scenario as well. But yeah, I mean, I think the main thing here is that, like, what is your goal? Like, what are we trying to do? Or yes, I know we all want to look our best and feel our best and be strong and all these things, but like, what's most important? Is it like just general fitness? Like, are we just trying to be healthy?
Yeah, move more and stave off disease.
In that case,
not
like,
get arthritis as
it
much.
really doesn't matter. Like, don't overthink it. Like, it could be resistance bands. It could just be like a few light dumbbells and calisthenics and resistance bands. And you can just create endless little 20-minute circuits that you can just clip off every single morning.
Oh, yeah.
Super low barrier of entry, and just focus on consistency, and naturally you'll get better over time. But if your goal is like you want to put on some muscle, okay, then maybe the full body style might not be optimal. I might have to break that into muscle groups, and I might just be like, all right, it's just going to be like a 20-30 minute push workout where it's just like chest, shoulders, and arms in a circuit for 20 minutes. And then the next day it could be a pull, and so you have to kind of, I think, decide first and foremost like what your goal is. Yeah. And then you can reverse engineer your plan based around what you have access to, your fitness level, and the realities of your time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think because like no matter what, again, our best lives are going to be lived if we're moving and just incorporating it in some way. Mm-hmm. It was interesting. I saw this guy arguing that like exercise is the most important thing to longevity. He's like some 99-year-old, and he's like, the person that has high blood pressure, high cholesterol and smokes, but exercises every day will outlive the person that has none of those afflictions, but is sedentary every day, and obviously that's just an anecdote of this individual, but I do think there's some truth in it that if you're moving and exercising, it's just going to mean such a higher quality of life. And so it really is just about finding a way to fit it in and just thinking realistically about what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. I think that like when we look at like 10-year survival rates, meaning like what's the percentage or what's the percentile that a cohort of people will fall into based off of their current health state, what's the percentage likelihood they're going to survive the next 10 years? So they call it like the 10-year survival rate.
Right. And
like the number one things are like, what's your VO2 max? Like if you're in the red, you have like a coin toss. If you're a 50-year-old man and your VO2 max is so terrible, I don't really know the exact like metrics for VO2 max at the top of my head. I can't remember exactly, but you can imagine it's a range.
Like the higher the better. And
yeah, of course.
Like 50 is pretty. Like 50 is like approaching and like an athlete, and like I think above 50 is off the top of my head, or above like 54, 60 is pretty exceptionally high.
But you'd be surprised, like it's diminishing returns. Like once you reach like solid VO2 max, you go from like a 90% survival rate likelihood to like a 92.
Yeah.
But
if you have an extrally low,
but if you have a low one, it's like it could be like 60, 55, 60% survival rate. And there's like some easy ways to test it, like like how far you can walk, or how quickly you can walk a mile, or how far you can get at a certain pace in 20 minutes.
With heart rates too. It's like you can just like get like a stationary step, or just use a step and a staircase and like go up and down the step 100 times each side. Right. And you put in how long that took you, and then you measure your heart rate, and then you like measure it again after like a recovery period.
Yeah. It's worth checking out. You can just Google like how to test VO2 max, but it's worth kind of just seeing what cohort you fall into. If you train even with just weights, this is like one of my premises of like why I'm not huge into doing a ton of cardio specifically, because like I do supersets and I do circuit weights, and like my heart rate is probably never above like 110, let's be honest. Yeah. But like surprisingly that doesn't seem to have as big of an impact in your long-term health that you would think. Like people are so obsessed with like high intense cardio because they think that they need this like crazy high heart rate.
Zone 3.
For this like extended period of time in order to like, but like what we're trying to say here is that like the fitter you get, A, the harder it is to get more fit because it's just like such diminishing returns, and B, like it's such a precipitous like amount of improvement that happens the fitter you get. So as long as you're just like training relatively consistently, even if it's just weight training, you're not even doing a ton of like cardio, like boot camps or HIIT or running, you'd be surprised at how well you can maintain a really solid VO2 max. That then, bringing this back full circle, just increases your 10-year survival rate, which is a huge health marker.
100%.
Versus somebody who doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, but is just like morbidly obese and doesn't exercise. It's like, I would bet money on the person who drinks and smokes but trains.
Yeah, I mean, I think even somebody who's not morbidly obese, I think that like just, you know, there was, I saw that recently, like an x-ray of a cross section of a 40-year-old triathlete.
Oh yeah, that's
70-year-old man and a 70-year-old triathlete. And basically, you know, it's like the 70-year-old man had tremendous amount of fat, very minimal muscle mass, very thin bone of the femur. And then the two triathlete images were almost identical. And, you know, the whole idea was like, you know, if these two 70-year-olds fell, which one's more likely to break a bone? Which one's more likely to catch themselves from a fall? Have the strength in their legs to decelerate their body?
And the amount of muscle tissue on them.
Yeah, if they had to have surgery.
To survive a surgery.
Or to survive a disease or an illness or anything. So, you know, I think, it's just the efficient. And there's things, I mean, I think in general, there's like an intensity trade-off for time efficiency that it kind of happens that will allow for most results in most avenues without getting too specific or niche or goal oriented. Meaning that whether you're doing walking, a boot camp, you're doing straight bodybuilding, or even powerlifting, that if you kind of play your cards right, there's a way to kind of shorten the time, and at the exchange of that is some intensity. And then obviously you're going to have to like break protocol if you're getting really specific. Like if you really want to be a true power lifter, you're going to have to kind of let this efficiency game go out the window and just do what you got to do.
Yeah.
With the long
And that's
rest.
like
But
super goal specific.
That's very goal specific and very niche. But for the most part, any avenue you choose, if you just kind of like put the gas on a little bit more and are willing to be a little more uncomfortable in one way or another, you'll be able to probably get the same results with a minimal margin of loss as long as you're willing to go there with it.
Yeah, I think it's just it's like the stimulus fatigue ratio.
Yeah.
Like strength fatigue / stimulus fatigue ratio, where it's like, you know, you could get probably 100 repetitions of a couple of like 2 or 3 exercises within 10 minutes if you just like cranked a circuit, but you're just not gonna be able to go that heavy and you're gonna be gassed, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're like, I got 10 minutes, I'm just gonna do like as many rounds as possible of 15 jump squats and 15 push-ups in 10 minutes. You'll be gassed.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna be gassed, and by the end of that 10 minutes, you're probably gonna barely, you won't even be able to finish. You'll be doing like sets of 5 and then having to rest,
especially
huffing and puffing.
Yeah.
But you're fatiguing because of like the cardiovascular aspect of it, which is, again, for general health and fitness, wonderful. If that's all you ever did was just some version of that, you are light years beyond most people.
Yep.
But for those who maybe are willing to stretch that out to 30 minutes, slow things down, that means that you have a little bit more time to recover now. And that means the stimulus to fatigue ratio is a little bit more on the stimulus side and not so much the fatigue side, which means you could probably go a little heavier. You could focus, you could take a solid minute break in between each set and still get a good amount of volume in.
Oh yeah.
But be able to like load up the weights a little bit more to build some more recomposition, more aesthetics. And then you could go like a full hour where it's like, okay, I'm not going to circuit anything. It's all stimulus and there's no fatigue. And I'm going to do a set of a bench press or a back squat or whatever. And I'm going to rest a full ass 2.5 minutes for my next one. So you just kind of figure like where you fall on that spectrum and like what your goals are and what's realistic for your life right now. And understand that like nothing matters if we can't be consistent. And so if like, even if where I'm at right now, if that just meant I got 10 minutes every day because maybe I got like 2 young kids at home and dogs to walk and I work a full-time job and wife's out of the house as well. And and like literally I got 10 minutes. It's okay. Just do that then.
Just
like
bang
it's
it
fine.
out. Yeah.
Because you know when the dust settles in 1, 2, 5 years from now, you could pick it up wherever you want. You'll be ready to roll because at least you kept a toehold on and just did little 10 or 15 minute things when you could, versus where so many people fall into this trap of being like, well, you know, I couldn't find any time for my workout routine, so I just stopped doing it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, okay, but you know.
What does that mean? Yeah, exactly. What does that mean exactly?
Where's that going to be? Where's that going to land you in 5 years? You're going to, had you just done the 10 or 15 minutes a few times a week, you would have maintained a base level of fitness that would have made when that dust inevitably settles and your life inevitably moves to the next chapter and you're not so busy anymore, you could pick it back up again right where you left off, basically.
And just be that much more fit because of it,
Yeah. So anything's better than nothing is the real takeaway, I think.
Yeah, it's truly just get it, find a way to get it in, find ways to make it efficient. Like drop sets. Drop set being you do a weight and then as you fatigue, you do a slightly less weight of the same exact exercise and you do it immediately. Like cables are great for it, but dumbbells. Drop sets are really effective and they don't take a lot of time. Again, they're really intense if you do them right.
Yeah.
But you can get tremendous amount of stimulus, especially in like a nice curl or something like that.
Totally.
So,
there's a lot of ways to do it.
Find the tools.
Yeah.
Make it efficient. 100%. Get over the time excuse.
Anything is better than nothing.
And be ready, yeah.
All right, folks. Episode 65 in the bag. That's a lot of episodes.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
It's chugging along.
Yeah. We'll catch y'all next time. Another episode of In the Grand Scheme of Fitness. Peace out, y'all.
Peace.